guys, today I'm going to do some Colour Fresh crates. I'm just going to adjust this a wee tiny bit, that's better. So today I'm going to use your new blue, your green and your yellow. Okay, so that's my three colours I'm going to do. So, let me see them in the bowl. Blue, green, yellow. Okay, so your Colour Fresh crates are a true semi-permanent colour, which means there is no developer gets mixed in with them. So anything that there's no developer in is a true semi-permanent colour. When you mix two things together, it becomes more of an oxidising semi-permanent or a permanent colour. So just so that you know what I'm working with, I'm only working with semi-permanent colours, so there's no mixing. No skin test needed either for this, but I would always say if you were recommended to people, just to get them to do a little skin test anyway to keep yourself right. So what I've done with my little lady here, I've went and got a wee bit of green on her there. I've sectioned her into a star section. It's like a big zigzag all the way around, okay? Quite an easy wee technique to do. So what I'm going to do is underneath here, I'm going to do green and maybe some yellow, and then at the top I'll do some blue, okay? That's providing I've got enough, because I've only got about 3/4 of a tube of blue. So if I don't have enough, I'll do a blue route and I'll do something else at the top. So I'm going to start with my green, okay? So I've pre-shampooed the hair, right? So that, can you see this okay? I've pre-shampooed the hair so that it's so much easier for me to work with. Now, they tell you always use the crates on wet hair. You can use them on dry if you wanted it a wee bit kind of deeper. But to be honest with you, I think it goes further when it's wet as well. So I'm just doing a messy route. So as you notice, I am not really worried about what I'm doing here, because I'm putting it right through anyway to kind of midway through the ends. So I'm tapping in at the root area. Just tapping in at the root area here. Okay. Always make sure you've got a towel beside you as well, and clean gloves. Okay. So see if you notice there, you see how thick this can be. Again, if you had a client, you have something under there. Okay, so I'm just gradually fading that in. Okay. So I'm just going to work my way around here. Colour crates are really, really good. The thing with semi-permanent is they do wash out, but again, there's not a certain time that they wash out in, because everybody's hair is totally different. So my hair can grip colour sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't grip colour. It depends on what I'm using. So what I need to do is tell you that these last probably, I would say maybe 2 to 3 washes, but they could last 10 washes. So never give anybody an exact length of time when these would last you, because then clients will come back to you and they'll say, you told me that would wash out and it's not washed out. So you need to say to them, if your hair's porous, what your hair is, if it's really light, it could last a lot longer than 1 or 2 washes. But then again, it might only last 1 or 2 washes. We can't tell you. This is a recommend. The recommended is probably about 2 to 3 washes. Okay. Now these are really bold colours. They brought these out before they brought the Colour Crate masks out, Colour Fresh masks out. So I think I'm quite interested to see, because obviously I've just started using the mask because they're just out, how long they last. Now, I've had it in my hair. I obviously put the pink in just yesterday, but I've had the Lilac Frost in as well, and the Rose Blaze, and they kind of lasted maybe 2 or 3 washes, but there was still a level of staining in them, so it's just telling me that they are lasting a lot longer than, you know, what they're saying they're lasting. Remember, everything in colouring's a guide, so there's nothing guaranteed it's like if your client wants a green, it depending on what her underlying hair colour is, so what she's actually got in her hair and what the base colour is, whether or not she can achieve a darker green, lighter green, there's always options. But you can't guarantee that client is going to get that exact colour that she wants, because you have to look at the underlying pigment. I'm just drawing over these wee sections right through here, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm just getting into my wee sections in here and just dabbing in my root area, just so that I'm getting into my wee star shape. You'll probably be able to see it better. And I've put my dogs out so that they don't annoy me, because I just started this video and they started again, so I had to throw them out. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get peace and quiet while we do this. What I'll do is I'll stop and start this because the videos take ages to upload. So I'll stop and start it. So I'll do this wee bit first, and then I'll show you what I'm doing next. Might need to stop and start it, so if I do that, don't worry, because I'll be back in a sec. And obviously, if you're in a salon and you're working, or you're in the college and you're working, make sure that you've always got your trolley at the same side as you're working. I've not got a trolley here, so that's why I'm using it on my worktop. But if you're right-handed, have your trolley at your right-hand side. If you're left-handed, have your trolley at your left-hand side, so that you're not leaning over like I'm doing here. But again, home working, you just got to adapt. And as soon as I've done this wee bit through the front, I'm going to start with my yellow and see how that looks. I love working with bright colours. This was a request for somebody actually that wanted to see these colours done together, so quite happy to do that. If anybody wants to see anything, I'm quite happy to do it for these. If I've got the resources in the house, I'll certainly do it for you. So I'll just get quickly. I always go in and out the wee zigzag, if you see, and just do my wee root area first, so that I don't put all the colour on the places that I don't want it. Make sure as well, when you're changing colours, you change your gloves. And I can't say enough, make sure that you've got a towel handy at all times, and be near water. If you've not got a basin near you, make sure you've got a water spray near you, so that you can spray your hands or the hair if need be. So I'm just being very, very careful around these parts here. But apart from that, I'm just working as if I would normally work. So it's just the wee parts that I'm being really, really careful with. The rest of it, I'm actually been quite messy with my application, because I don't like straight lines. So I always say, when you're doing any kind of root, smudges, melts, whatever people call them, you must work in a bigger, wider section and not have it like uniformed. If you have it uniformed, you're going to get a line. Okay. And a lot of the time, I've always got water, because I always merge it in as well with water. So I'm just going to put this on as quick as, okay, so I'm aware of the time on this, so I'm at 9 minutes, so another wee minute or two, and then I'll stop and start it once I get this part done. I like starting from the bottom and working my way up, because then I'm not putting sections over people's faces. The good thing is getting these light dolls are brilliant, because you can't do these on dark heads, because obviously the lighter the head, the brighter the colour. So you'll not see the true colour of something if it was dark. But you can get different different tones through the hair if you put these on. It's not to say that you won't see them, but you'll certainly not have the brightness, but you could have a different tone, i.e. if you put the blue over a really dark hair, you could maybe create a sort of blue-black over the top of obviously an existing like black hair, so just gives it a nice shine. The same with any of the purples or anything like that, because the purples are that nice over darker hair as well. Just gives it a wee shine, but you won't get this colour. So if anybody comes in with like a base, anything darker than a base 9, they can forget it. Just make sure you know all your bases, so you know what you can work with. Nearly done with this wee part here. And then I'll stop the video, I'll change my gloves and I'll come back on, okay? In 1 second. So let me have a wee look to make sure that I've got most of that done. Okay, this wee bit to do here. Here. Another thing as well, when you're using different colours, always make sure that you, when you're rinsing it off, you rinse it off with the coolest water that it can take. I'm not talking about freezing your client to death, but a nice cool water, because if you put heat on that, the colours will all run into each other. And that happens a lot with these colours, and sometimes in the best will in the world it still happens. Now remember, colours can be unpredictable. It doesn't matter how good you are at doing it or how long you've been doing it for. Things go wrong, and sometimes things are out with your control. So things don't always work according to plan. So just prepare me just in case this doesn't work. Anyway, I just do things, and then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then I can change it. But that is where, when you're confident with colour, that you're not scared to try things, because if you make a mistake, you can fix it, you can try something else. Right, so I'm just going to have a wee look. Merge that through. I'm just going to have a wee merge. See with my fingers, I just always like having a wee merge through. Okay, just to make sure I've not got any lines. So when I do that, I take my fingers, my 2 fingers, and I just pull it through. And depending if I feel there's a line starting to form, I tend to put a bit of water on it as well. But see if you do that, look, see the difference? See if I just do that, can you see that? How that starts to blend in. Okay, so I'm blending it, and I'm blending it through, okay? So that I've not got any big lines. I'll keep blending it. When I'm putting my next colours on, I'll still blend it, okay? And so I'm just blending it through. I might actually put a wee tiny bit more on the front here. Just a wee bit more, that's it, so that comes in a wee tiny bit further. So that's just a wee tiny bit heavier through here. Right, so I'm just putting a wee bit more on there so that it's a wee bit bolder. That's because I've locked them out, they're actually wanting in now. They're not getting in. So I don't get a minute's peace. See, the minute I put a video on and start barking, I swear to God, they're the quietest dogs on the planet. And the minute I go to work, that's it. They constantly bark. I'm just putting a wee towel. Do you see how I'm doing this with my fingers as well? So it doesn't necessarily always need to be with a tint brush. You see, sometimes with your fingers you can actually blend that in a wee bit more. And I want a wee bit bolder through the front. So I'm just doing this with my fingers, and then I'll stop the video and I'll change my gloves and I'll come back. There you go. So I'll stop the video right now. I'm just going to change my gloves and come right back.